You know, as much as I'd like to run this tournament with the Total Annihilation music in the background, I'm afraid I can't. I wish I could. I wish there was just a reliable way of replacing the in-game music. It was not to be. Alright, folks. Welcome. Welcome back. There you go, you get your message log. The new recording method I'm using involves slightly more setup, but it looks better. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the stream. I believe, as far as I can tell, that the stream is now higher quality and running at a higher frame rate. So hopefully you guys have noticed that. Hopefully it's good for you. Colors are more vibrant. Well, the show match has been vibrant so far, I'll tell you that for a fact. It's my pleasure to bring you Team Grubby.Grubby. He is in the green trunks and he is playing Protoss to the south of this particular map. Oh yes, it's Antigua Shipyard cross position only versus his opponent. It is Team LiquidSheth, currently 2 apiece in this best of 7 series, brought to you by Club3D. He is in the purple trunks playing Zerg to the north. Guess what Grubby's gonna do? Forge fast expand all the time! Oh yes, why the hell not? Well, it's not necessarily Forge fast expand, it can be Pylon, then Nexus, then Forge, if he thinks that he's not vulnerable. Admittedly, if it's Antigua cross position only, if he doesn't put a Forge down, I'll be really surprised. Because it's just, there is a possibility of Lings getting in. There really, really is, unless you go Forge first. Funnily enough, though, he hasn't put his Forge down just yet. Interesting, Grubby. Are you really gonna go Nexus before Forge? No, he's gonna go 15 Forge. There we go. So allowing his economy to get to a reasonable state, but not pushing it. That's the problem with going for 17 Forge, when your opponent pretty much knows where you are. As we saw on the last map, the Lings almost got there in time to do some damage because the cannon was so late. It'd be a bit of a pain in the ass. Anyway. So far what we've seen from Grubby is a really strong opening. 2 quick wins, really aggressive. But Sheth then changes his strategy around a little bit. Gets gas earlier, and suddenly he's in a good position. And what we're seeing lately is a lot of just Mutalisk play against Protoss is difficult to deal with. It really, really is. Mana has the answer to it. If you want to know, it's like people seem to believe, oh, Mutalisk is impossible to beat. It's bullcrap. It's not impossible to beat, but you can't just do Stalkers, and you certainly can't do lightly upgraded Stalkers. I'd just like to point out that by the end of that, those Mutas were at 2, and the Stalkers were only 1-1. That's nowhere near enough. If you were to go double upgrades with Stalkers, you can deal with those Mutas. The Mutas are nowhere near as upgraded, you can tear them out the sky much more rapidly, but what we saw Mana doing with his great Storm Control, it's something Grubby anyway might want to actually consider, because his Storm Control is great as well, is to actually go for earlier High Templar with Storm, and land those Storms in the center. Because even if you don't kill the Mutas, you wear them down, and Muta regeneration is really slow. So you eventually wear them down to the point where they can be easily picked off by Stalkers. Something to consider. But yeah, we've already seen that Blizzard wants to do something about that. The Lings are gonna... the Lings got in! Sheth, you sneaky bugger, gets 3 Lings in. Nicely done there. Waits for the perfect opportunity. And Grubby slightly delayed in putting that building down. Question is, what can he do with it? Well, he can pick off that probe, certainly. That probe's going to immediately fall back to the safety of the cannon. In fact, what he should be doing, really, is just to go in there and try and pick off a probe here and there. Already 2 gas up. Interesting stuff there from Grubby. Try and get some early attack and some sentries, of course, out. And now the speed's completed as well, so this is going to make things even more difficult to defend. Let's see Sheth's control. The Zealot now out to defend it. Has he managed to kill off a probe yet? He actually hasn't. This is the problem. With only 3 Lings, it's very easy to get surrounded. Grubby's control is really good here. No workers killed here by this run-by. He gets some nice information. He may be able to get a kill here, but he's running now into the range of that. He's delaying some mining, though, so even so, the run-by was worth it because it delayed some mining time. Aside from that, it doesn't really matter. He'd love to get 1 probe here, but the control here by Grubby is exceptional. But, of course, he's using an awful lot of micro and APM just to keep those Zerglings away from his mineral line. And he's, of course, losing mining time, which all adds up, so this little bit of harassment might not seem effective, but it is. And, of course, in the background, Sheth's doing what he does best. Macro, hey, why not? Not missing his injects, nailing things down quite nicely here. Sheth ready to inject right about... It's like, Sheth not missing his injects? No, delaying it just a little bit. There it is. You'll find that, like, a lot of players have an internal timing as well. Some players decide, especially if they don't build an extra queen, something you may have noticed is they'll delay their inject every now and again just to build up a little energy so they can actually then afford a straight up spawn creep tumor so that it can start actually joining things up here. LiquidSheth is surprising in the number of queens that he doesn't build. He's not one of those guys to build extras. Stargate play going in from Grubby here. 2 more assimilators to back that one up, so I'd expect Void Ray as opposed to just pure Phoenix here. Doesn't really need the 4 gas otherwise. But a mixture of 2 would be quite effective, and also he's got a fairly short flight distance there between that and the 3rd. Sheth also hasn't got creep spread there yet, so that's a bit of a vulnerability. He doesn't even have an evolution chamber yet either. He's gone Roach Horn before evolution chamber. That's interesting. Bear in mind, Sheth doesn't really have a lot of information here. He's going to throw himself up against this wall off and really not discover anything. That Stargate is nicely hidden back there. He won't be able to get any info on that at all. He also doesn't know the number of gases that have been taken. So this is going to catch him really off guard here. I'm actually very worried for Sheth. I'm surprised that he hasn't... Oh, did he reveal the Void Ray there? I don't think he did. There's been no evolution chamber come down. Now it is. I think he knows about it. It might have been outside the Ling's sight range. It was a little bit difficult to tell. But this is still a... I mean, it's quite a late evolution chamber. Single Void Ray's already on its way out, and we'll start to be able to do damage. That Queen's going to die. There's no way another Queen can get there. The creep spread is actually non-existent here by Sheth, which is interesting. And now he's going to start limping across the battlefield to intercept that. He sees the Void Ray coming in. Moving down to the bottom of the ramp here, but that also gives Grubby an opportunity to do some harassment of the mineral line. Charging up as quickly as he can. He's going to be able to... He only doesn't have transfuse energy. He will in the next few seconds, though. Shields are now down. The second Queen moves in for reinforcement. Now 2 Void Rays on the field. 3 more Queens being built now by Sheth. Spore Crawlers on the way up as well. That's provoked quite a nasty response there. I have to wonder if Grubby continues to build his heir or if he simply provokes his opponent. There's an interesting possibility in one way or the other. Now I'm going for the main here. Poking away, but there's already 2 Queens ready to intercept. There's now 6 Queens on the field, so that's enough to deal with any one Void Ray. 2 Void Rays on the other hand with Phoenix support though, no problem. And that's what he's going for. He's going to pick off a few Overlords here and there. There's plenty of spares, so Sheth's not worried about that, but he's going to lose some vision on the map here. And in comes that Air Force once again. Spore Crawler's put in a decent position here. Interesting decision to start focusing fire on the extractor. Of course, it allows him to move away, and it also nails down that Queen. Nicely done there by Grubby, drawing that Queen out of position. Spore Crawler now moves out of position, and immediately the focus fire comes in, and there's the lift from those Phoenixes as well. They don't kill Queens all that quickly, but that also then allows the focus in, and the Spore Crawler to be knocked down. Sheth needs to move that back almost immediately, and still that Air Force remains alive. Another lift coming in. The lair is really, really late here by Sheth, and it is hurting him badly. And now he's just got free reign on that mineral line. Spore Crawler being redeployed, but it's going to die before it even goes anywhere unless Grubby just lets it. He actually lets it deploy, which is interesting. He's going to take hits from the back here. Grubby with a unusual lack of control there. Almost loses the Void Ray. Quick lift from all of those units, but he's now going to be driven away. I'm actually very surprised he didn't focus straight on that Spore Crawler, really. He could have moved to the back there, out of range of the Queens, maybe attacked from this direction, and had a bit of a better micro position, but no. This Void Ray is taking significant punishment. Now let's see how much economic damage is really done. Not a huge amount, really. A lot of Queens killed, certainly, but the thing is there were spares, so injects weren't really missed. Now the 3rd under threat. Creep has not been spread yet. Getting Queens over there is going to be pretty difficult. Now is the time that Grubby needs to do some serious damage to that mineral line. Hydra Den is, needless to say, on the way. One more Spore Crawl available there. Doesn't want to lose the charge. Finishes off the charge on that one, and an interesting decision there by Grubby not to do that. Maybe like moving to intercept Queens that were coming in his direction, but there are actually no Queens there. Void Ray is now charged and focusing fire on that hatchery, just a single one, and then the Phoenix Force plus the Void Ray up to the front. Plenty more damage coming in here. Spore Crawler is now being moved to redeploy. The Hydralisks are on the way, though, so Grubby's Air Force is living on borrowed time here. 11 Hydras is enough to clean this up. Surprised once again that Grubby didn't decide to just keep focusing on that hatchery, but unless he had double Void Rays, he wouldn't have been able to kill that. Funnily enough, Sheth's been able to neutralize the vast majority of this without taking too much damage at all, and Grubby's Air Force, it might have seemed impressive, but economically it hasn't stunted his opponent. It hasn't stopped the 3rd base, it hasn't killed the 3rd base, it has barely delayed mining. It's killed a few Queens here and there. It's certainly forced a particular response, and Colossus is now on the way, but if Sheth were to gather enough for force and go now before the Colossi count gets too large, Roach Hydra will be absolutely fine. Indeed, his Hydra count's at 13, so it may very well be enough. There are 2 Colossus already on the field, though. Extended Thermal Lance is done. So I would think that what he wants to do is try and hit the 3rd and then back off and just expand behind that and then adapt. Because if he goes for pure Roach Hydra up against that many Colossus and attacks the main or the natural, he's dead. Sheth won't be able to do that. He's going to move around here, and Grubby has no information on it either. Grubby is playing blind. Single Observer is on the way in, but it's not going to get there in time before those rocks go down. They're going to stream in there. Army's now moving into position to defend it, but I mean, in theory, Sheth could actually do it. There are some force fields there. The engagement arc is good for Sheth, but he doesn't want to engage. There are simply too many risks involved. Losing his entire army here would suck. Grubby's certainly behind in supply right now, but starting to catch up in terms of his economy, sitting there nicely, but Sheth has actually managed to outflank his opponent. Even got a few Banelings in the mix, and he's looking to smash his way all the way through into the natural, and Grubby, thinking that the attack's going to come from the top, has been duped. However, that means there's no getting out of there alive. Sheth's going to continue to push in, or use it as a distraction to attack the 3rd. It's exactly what he's doing here, forcing a warp in, splitting the immobile army of Grubby in 2. Roaches and Hydralisks streaming into the base, focusing fire on nothing in particular. Needs to bring something down to make this worthwhile. Indeed, the 3rd has even been successfully defended by Grubby, so that 2-pronged attack didn't really work out all that well for Sheth. Sheth bringing in more units here. Bit of damage coming in, but those Hydralisks just can't deal with that many Stalkers, especially not with the Phoenix back up there. The army now driven into the corner and destroyed. Some workers killed there, some economic damage done. I don't know if it was worthwhile, though. Notice the amount of resources that have been lost here by Sheth, really not to accomplish all that much. Nice, efficient bit of defense there by Grubby. Very impressive. Sheth, unfortunately, seems to have given away the advantage he's got. His economy is now pretty much equal to his opponent. Needs to get another round of drones in, really, but Grubby's got the supply advantage, which is particularly grim when you consider that the army of Sheth almost consists entirely of roaches. That's where most of that supply is. It's nowhere near enough. It's not good enough to deal with this kind of force composition here from Grubby. And Grubby's going to take full advantage of that. I'm very surprised he didn't just go and strike the 4th base right there. Maybe feeling a little bit paranoid that his opponent might try and sneak around here, but it's not happening. Grubby looking for contingents of enemy forces. He's not finding anything just yet. 6 spine crawlers being deployed. Sheth looking for a run-by into the 3rd. This is well defended, though. There's quite a lot of cannons. The warping could easily clean up this as well. Goes for the mineral line, focuses on the cannons, and he actually should be able to do some reasonable damage here. In the meantime, Grubby kind of milling around, looking to do damage. Wants to try and take that base out, which he should be able to at least do some damage to. That mineral line's been toasted. Most of those probes do get out alive, though. So still the economy pretty equal. And here comes Grubby once again. That 4th is doomed. Big flanking force of Roach Lane coming around the side, but I don't know. Not liking this. Not for Sheth at the moment. Things are looking not so fantastic. Back down to 3 bases. Grubby's defenses are holding pretty well. Needs to back off and actually get Colossus support in there so that those Stalkers don't get torn apart. I think he knows that. Quick lift comes in. He actually lifts up 3 damaged Stalkers to prevent them from taking damage there from the links. Very nice little bit of micro-maneuvering from Grubby. And the force field's now back in play, perfectly positioned, and that force soundly crushed. Sheth not looking in a good spot. Grubby's able to mass up this big Death Ball army. Sheth's being sort of taken apart piecemeal. A lot of lings in that army, which really won't do an awful lot. In fact, if Grubby were to go right now, and that's exactly what he's going to do, it's going to be difficult for Sheth to hold it. Upgrade count is at the moment looking equal. I think Sheth wants to hold on until he gets +2. I don't think he's going to get the opportunity, though. Should be able to gun down those spine crawlers without too much of a problem at all, as you can see there. Plenty range advantage. Rage or range, who knows? I think it's going to be both for Sheth in the moment. Sheth is not a rager, we all know that. That's going to be nicely defended and easily held right there. Grubby gets hyper-aggressive. Going all the way into the natural here. Units streaming in piecemeal from Sheth, but they're nowhere near large enough. He doesn't have the force to crush this army. Even with +2/+2, I don't know. He's going to be very hard-pressed. Hydra Den going down as well. 11 more Hydras being built to back this up. Corruptors come in from the flank, and they're able to pick off a Colossus before the blink kicks in. Nicely done there, and Grubby blinks into what you might consider a trap, but the Colossus provides a good amount of fire support, and now, here comes the counter push from Sheth. Should be able to hold up against this now that the Colossus are down, but he needs a lot more